The more it includes the people, it's starting to slowly taper off. A couple showers here, airport passenger, and just the southwest report. But the big quick question happening over the next couple of days is we're going to start tapping these really rich top boards that are coming up after the Caribbean. It has been
Recording in progress.
All right. Now, today we did 2 chapters, so we have to try to get 2 chapters in tonight. 32 and 33. It has a total of 50, what did I say this morning? 52 verses. 32 has 32 verses.
We did 18 verses each, I think.
18 and 17. So it was 50. It has 52 verses. Who wants to read?
I think we all have to read.
Not necessarily.
Three people.
Could be 3, could be 2. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, I guess.
Who wants to read?
I guess we'll all read.
All right. Susan wants to read. Anybody else wants to read? Oh, Marilyn will read. All right. Marilyn and Susan can read. Susan, half of 52 is 26. So you would read chapter 32, verse 1 to 26.
33 or 32.
And Marilyn will read from verse 27 right through to the end of chapter 33.
Well, there's only 32 verses.
No, but we're reading 32 and 33.
Oh.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed what I'm supposed to read. You just
All
tell
right.
me to start.
Susan, you're reading chapter 32, 1 to
Okay.
26.
Okay.
Marilyn, you're reading chapter 32 from verse 27 to the end of chapter 33.
Well, I hope there's not a lot of discussion. Okay, like I said, I have a sinus infection, so I'm gonna be nasally.
Go
Okay.
ahead. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Jacob also went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, "This is the camp of God." So he named that place Mahanaim. Well, Jacob sent messengers ahead of him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. He instructed them, "This is what you are to say to my lord Esau. Your servant Jacob says, I have been staying with Laban and have remained there till now. I have cattle, donkeys, and sheep and goats, male and female servants. Now I am sending this message to my lord, that I may find favor in your eyes." When the messenger returned to Jacob, they said, "We went to your brother Esau, and he is now coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him." Wow. In great fear and distress, Jacob divided the people who were with him into 2 groups, and the flocks and the herds and camels as well. He thought, if Esau comes and attacks one group, the group that is left may escape. Then Jacob prayed, "O my father Abraham, God of my father Isaac, Lord, you who said to me, 'Go back to your country and your relatives, and I will make you prosper.' I am worthy of all kindness and faithfulness. You have shown your servant. I had only my staff when crossed this Jordan, and now I have become 2 camps. Save me, I pray, from the hand of Esau. And I am afraid he will come back and attack me, as also the mothers of their children.
I'm hearing double.
I am too.
I think
Me too,
Bruce,
but that's okay.
Bryce, you might need to mute yourself.
But you have said, I will surely make you prosper and make your descendants like the sand of the sea, which cannot be counted. He spent the night there, and from what he had with him, he selected a gift for his brother Esau: 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 20 female camels with their young, 40 cows and 10 bulls, and 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. He put them in the care of his servants, each herd by itself, and he said to his servants, "Go ahead of me and keep some space between the herds." He instructed the one to lead. When my brother Esau meets you and asks, who do you belong to and where are you going and who owns all these animals in front of you? Then you are to say, they belong to your servant Jacob. They are a gift sent from my lord Esau, and he is coming behind us. He also instructed the second and the third, all of the others who followed him, the herds. You are to say the same thing to Esau when you meet him. And be sure to say, your servant Jacob is coming behind us, for he thought, I will pacify him with these gifts I am sending on ahead. When I see him, perhaps he will receive me. So Jacob's gifts went on ahead of him, but he himself spent the night in the camp. That night, Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, 2 female servants, and 11 sons, and he crossed the ford at Jacob, well, whatever. After he sent them across the stream, he sent over his possessions. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled him till daybreak. When the man saw he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip. So his hip was wrenched, and he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, let me go, for it is daybreak. But Jacob replied, I will not let you go unless you bless me.
The man asked him, what is your name? Jacob, he answered. Then the man said, your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with men and have overcome. Jacob said, please tell me your name. But he replied, why do you ask my name? Then he blessed him there. So Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, it is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared. The sun rose above him as he passed Peniel, and he was limping because of his hip. Therefore, to this day, the Israelites do not eat the tendon attached to the socket of the hip, because the socket of Jacob's hip was touched near the tendon. Jacob meets Esau. Jacob looked up, and there was Esau coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 maidservants. He put the maidservants and their children in front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph in the rear. He himself went on ahead and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. But Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. He threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they wept. When Esau looked up and saw the women and children, who are these with you? He asked. Jacob answered, they are the children God has graciously given your servant. Then the maidservants and their children approached and bowed down. Next, Leah and her children came and bowed down. Last of all came Joseph and Rachel, and they too bowed down. Esau asked, what do you mean by all these droves I met? To find favor in your eyes, my lord, he said. But Esau said, I already have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself. No, please, said Jacob, if I have found favor in your eyes, accept this gift from me. For to see your face is like seeing the face of God. Now that you have received me favorably, please accept the present that was brought to you. That was brought to you. For God has been gracious to me, and I have all I need. And because Jacob insisted, Esau accepted it. Then Esau said, let us be on our way. I'll accompany you. But Jacob said to him, my Lord knows that the children are tender, and that I must care for the ewes and the cows that are nursing their young. If they are driven hard just one day, all the animals will die. So let my Lord go on ahead of his servant, while I move along slowly at the pace of the droves before me and that of the children, until I come to my Lord in Seir. Esau said, then let me leave some of my men with you. But why do that? Jacob asked. Just let me find favor in the eyes of my Lord. So that day Esau started on his way back to Seir. Jacob, however, went to Succoth, where he built a place for himself, and he made shelters for his livestock. That is why the place is called Succoth, or Sukkoth. After Jacob came from Paddan Aram, he arrived safely in the city of Shechem in Canaan and camped within sight of the city. For 100 pieces of silver, he bought from the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, the plot of ground where he pitched his tent. There he set up an altar and called it El Eloi, Israel. You're muted.
Father, you're on mute.
Everybody's muted.
I'm not muted.
Yeah, give me just 1 second.
There you go. There you go.
Good. All right. So now what we have here. Oh, I'm hearing. Bryce. Mute yourself, Bryce. Let me see if it is Bryce. It is 1, 2, 3. No, I'm still hearing it. Bryce, mute yourself. Hello. Yes, it is Bryce. Keep it muted unless you need to talk, Bryce, because we are getting an echo coming back. All right. Where am I? Hold 1 second, please. Yes. Now you see in chapter 20, in chapter 32, how Jacob had just met with Laban, and Laban had left. When Laban caught up to him, you can tell he was a little concerned about Laban's coming. He expressed why he didn't tell him why he was coming, why he was leaving, because he didn't think that he would want him to take his wife and children and all that good stuff. And so, but Laban, although his plan probably was to do some kind of damage to Jacob, the fact that he encountered God the night before he met him, and God told him not to say or do anything good or bad, he followed God and therefore did not do anything bad to Jacob or to his family. So now, having encountered that with Laban, now he's about to encounter Esau. And we all know how he and Esau were 20 years prior. Esau was planning on killing him because of taking away his blessing, and he had also taken away his birthright. And so he had left Esau with virtually nothing, and Esau did not like that, and so he wanted to take his revenge out on Jacob. However, Jacob fled to Haran, where his mother's brother lives, which is Laban, and he spent the 20 years there, and now he was on his way back home. Yes, George, you're muted. You're still muted.
Unmute. Okay.
Mhm.
It said that Jacob got all that stuff, but when he went looking for his wives, all he took was the clothes on his back. I mean, did he really make out from tricking his brother?
Wait. You ask that question again?
When 20 years ago, when Jacob left for
Mhm.
fear of Esau,
Mm-hmm.
didn't he basically leave with the clothes on his back?
Correct.
So
He
I mean,
left with nothing.
so how much did all that subterfuge actually get him? Because Esau was left back at home with everything kind of by default, and Jacob
Not quite. If you remember, Esau also apparently left home and went and married not Hittite wives, but Canaanite wives and all of that. So he was already making his own family. Remember when he heard his parents saying that they did not want Jacob to marry any Canaanite women, he himself went and married a Canaanite woman, but had already married maybe about two of them, two other women as well, I think Hittite women. So he was already making a family for himself and all of that. So I am not sure that he was what's the word? As far as I can remember, he had gone on to live in a different part, or was planning on going to live in a different part, but he wanted to take revenge over Jacob because of what he did. But obviously, once Jacob left, he also would have settled somewhere else. And I think that's what happened here. So he settled in Eden, whereas Jacob went to Haran, and that's where Esau was. I don't know if that answers your question, but at the time of Jacob leaving, it would appear that Esau had already started making a life for himself. Because
Okay.
by the time he married the Canaanite woman, took the Canaanite wife, which was really a matter of a slap in his parents' face. That's all he did it for. If my mind serves me correctly, he had already had two wives.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So where we're at now, beginning in chapter 32, is that Jacob has encountered Laban. Laban has returned. I think that is the last time we will see or hear about Laban. And now he's preparing to meet Esau because he knows that he has to pass through where Esau is. There's no getting around it in order to get to Canaan. And so he's bracing himself for this journey. So it begins, Jacob also went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, "This is the camp of God." So he named that place Mahanaim. Mahanaim. And so what you see happening here is that, and when they talk about the camp of God, some people may have army in their translation, but what really was happening here is that and the word Mahanaim means two camps. So what Jacob realizes is that there was the camp of God, which is when he talks about the angels of God met him, which is in verse 1. He is talking here now that he is seeing God is coming to deliver him, that God is coming to protect him. So this is like the holy army of God. These angels of God that he meets are the ones who are coming to protect him. So this is where, so having left the region where Laban was, he's about now to, and these two camps they're talking about include also the one with Laban and God, and now God and Esau. So he had just left the hostile camp of Laban, and now he's about to enter the hostile camp of Esau, or what he thought would be a hostile camp, so to speak. And so meeting these angels of God, whom you remember he had seen these already at Bethel, when he was fleeing from Esau to go to Laban. Now you see that these angels of God are here with him again to deliver him and to protect him at this time. And then in verse 3, Jacob sent messengers ahead of him to his brother Esau in this land of Seir, the land of the country of Eden. He instructed them, "This is what you are to say to my master Esau. Your servant Jacob says, I have been staying with Laban and have remained there till now. I have cattle and donkeys, sheep and goats, men servants and maidservants. Now I'm sending this message to my Lord that I may find favor in your eyes. So what Jacob is doing here is that Jacob is preparing himself for what could be an attack by Esau, and he's trying to see if he can win back Esau's favor. And note, he calls himself servant, your servant Esau, and he refers to Esau as master. Some translations might say Lord. So he's here playing on these words that he is the servant, and he's, as we will say, the young people would say, he's bigging up Esau in this regard, calling him master or Lord. And he's sending these messengers so as to these first set of messengers, he's sending them to test the waters, so to speak. So here in verse 5, I have cattle and donkeys, sheep and goats, men servants and maid servants. Now I'm sending this message to my Lord. Here he calls Esau my Lord, that I may find favor in your eyes. So he's trying to find favor in Esau's eyes. Now in verse 6, the messengers return. When the messengers returned to Jacob, they said, we went to your brother Esau, and now he's coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him. So poor Jacob now is afraid. He's coming with an army of men. And poor Jacob thinks, my golly, the man is going to attack me. And so you could sense that when you read on, you will see here in verse 7, in great fear and distress, Jacob divided the people who were with him into two groups, and the flocks and herds and camels as well. He thought, if Esau comes and attacks one group, the group that is left may escape. So he starts, and note again, although the angels of God have come to protect him, Jacob is still taking things into his own hands. And that is what we do. I mean, yeah, we trust God. We say we trust God, but there's nothing bad in giving it a little push, you know? We got to give our own little push to it to make sure that God is still doing what he's supposed to be doing. And that's what Jacob does, in the sense that the angels of God are there to protect him. They have protected him when he was with Laban, and now they're there to protect him again. But as soon as he hears that Esau is coming with an army of men, he gets fearful, and that faith and that trust in God wins a little bit. In that, now he thinks that he has to protect his family and protect and to see how best he can make this work. So you see then, in fear and distress, Jacob divided the people who were with him into two groups, and the flocks and herds and camels as well. He thought, if Esau comes and attacks one group, the group that is left may escape. Then in verse 9, then Jacob prayed, O God of my father Abraham, God of my father Isaac, O Lord, who said to me, go back to your country and your relatives, and I will make you prosper. I am unworthy of all the kindness and faithfulness you have shown your servant. I had only my staff when I crossed this Jordan, but now I have become two groups. Save me, I pray, from the hand of my brother Esau, for I am afraid he will come and attack me, and also the mothers with their children. But you have said, I will surely make you prosper, and will make your descendants like the sand of the sea, which cannot be counted. So here, Jacob decides, you can tell he's fearful. It says he's fearful, and he's trying to take matters into his own hand, but he's backing it up with praying to God to deliver him from his brother. And so you see him employing this defensive kind of strategy of dividing his people into two groups, hoping that if one camp gets attacked, that the other will be able to escape. And you see this whole notion of the two camps again, where Jacob now, that whole notion of two camps. And then, and one of the other things I will say to you is that the fact that Jacob is praying, the fact that Jacob is asking for God's protection, you see a changed man. He has changed from when he went from Canaan to Haran, and now he was one way then. He wasn't much into God then. Yeah, you encounter him at Bethel, but then you realize that when you get to Haran, he wasn't so much a man of God until he realizes that God was blessing Laban through him. And so God was working through him, and he started then to get more in touch with his relationship with God. But on his way back from Haran to Canaan, you can see how much he has changed from a man who wanted to shape his own destiny, and now he is relying on God to shape that destiny. So whereas now he was dependent on his strength previously, now he is dependent on God to deliver him. And so when he prays to God, he's acknowledging God's faithful love and protection. He's asking God to save him and his family. He's also reminding God of the promises that they made, that God gave him, which is his inheritance. So he's remembering and he's reminding God of all of this. Then in verse 13, he spent the night there, and from what he had with him, he selected a gift for his brother Esau. And look at this gift: 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 female camels with their young, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 10 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. He put them in the care of his servants, each herd by itself, and said to his servants, "Go ahead of me and keep some space between the herds." So here, what you're seeing here is that Jacob is preparing to give or to send before him groups of animals as a gift to his brother. And he's hoping that the generosity of the gift will make up for the way that he treated his brother in the past, how he had wronged his brother in the past. And so you see Jacob is trying to make amends, and also he's trying to spare his own life and that of his family, that no kind of tragedy should happen to them. I said to the others this morning that there's this old saying or old adage that goes, "Old sins cast long shadows." I don't know if you've ever heard that one before, but what it really means is that Jacob's sins, or what he committed against his brother, are now coming back to haunt him. We say in Barbados, they're coming home to roost. And so you see that happening here. And then in verse 17, he instructed the one in the lead, "When my brother Esau meets you and asks, 'To whom do you belong? And where are you going? And who owns all these animals in front of you?' Then you are to say, 'They belong to your servant Jacob. They are a gift sent to my lord Esau, and he is coming behind us.'" So here you heard the word servant again in reference to Jacob, and Lord in reference to Esau. The whole playing on those words to make him feel important, and that Jacob is just the lowly man who is really the younger brother, and he's seeking respect in the older brother who is Esau. Now, one of the things, and then you will see in verse 19, he also instructed the second, the third, and all the others who follow herds. "You are to say the same thing to Esau when you meet him, and be sure to say, 'Your servant Jacob is coming behind us.'" for he thought, I will pacify him with these gifts and send him on ahead. Later, when I see him, perhaps he will receive me. So Jacob's gifts went on ahead of him, but he himself spent the night in the camp. One of the things that you will see coming out here is that Jacob divides the animals into 5 groups, and you see him how he listed them here. If you go back to verse 14, he said 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 30 female camels with their young, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and male donkeys. Did I miss one? Oh, yes, I did. 200 ewes and 20 rams. So he sent them out in five groups. The goats, the male and female goats, the ewes and their rams, the female camels and their young. That's 3. The cows and the bulls are 4, and the female donkeys and male donkeys are 5. Those are the 5 groups he sent them. And each group he sent a servant ahead. And the servants are supposed to repeat the same words, that these are gifts coming from your servant Jacob to your master or your lord Esau. And so you see that happening there. And as you will realize, is that these gifts are meant to pacify, are meant to be a kind of reconciliation, kind of pact, so that which Jacob is hoping that by the time Esau hears the 5th speech, he would have softened, along with these gifts and all this kind of stuff, and being called my Lord Esau and all that good stuff. He would have been pacified. One of the things it shows you, though, is, and you will see it with Esau as well, how wealthy these brothers are. I mean, when you can give 200 goats and 200 ewes and all of these kinds of, and 30 female camels and all of this, you really got some real livestock that you could freely give those away without batting an eyelid. And you will see Jacob is giving them to Esau. He doesn't want them. And Jacob's going to say, no, you have treated me so well. You've welcomed me. You need them, kind of thing. You'll see that shortly. Now, meanwhile, as those animals and their servants are on their way, Jacob wrestles with this strange figure, this mysterious individual who is believed to be God. And you find in verse 22, that night Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 maidservants, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. After he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. Now, before we go down into the story more, and this morning we had this whole thing. Any of you all have translation that says instead of 11 sons, it says 11 children? Marilyn, yours does? 11 children? Who else? Unmute yourself. Yours say 11 sons?
Sons. Mine says sons.
Yours too? What does yours say, Marilyn and George?
Where are we looking?
This is verse 22 of chapter 32.
11 sons.
Yours say 11 sons. And yours too, George?
Verse 22.
Mine says children.
Yours says children. Okay. So 2, you're saying children. And as I said to the group this morning, I believe that children is the correct translation rather than sons, because at this time, I do not think that Benjamin was born. Yeah. And I will show you why I think so when we get a little lower down shortly, why Benjamin was not born. And therefore, if Benjamin wasn't born, it could not have been 11 sons. Wait a minute, hold on.
It would be
Yeah, it
12
would have
with
been 11
Benjamin.
sons. Yeah, it would have been 11 sons. That is true. I did not even think about that. That would have been 11 sons because
Yeah.
Dinah makes and Marilyn, that is true. It would
Who's a
still have been
daughter.
11 sons because Dinah would have made the 13th child.
Yes.
I now remember that because what happened was, and I didn't even remember that this morning. I must remind me next week, Marilyn. Marilyn, to tell the others because I wasn't even thinking about it either. But yes, it can be 11 sons. In fact, that might have been the right translation and not children, because Jacob had 12 sons and one daughter. So remembering that. Leah had 7 sons. She had 7 sons and not 7 sons, sorry, 6 sons and 1 daughter. Leah had 6 sons and 1 daughter. And the maid had 2 sons. And Rachel's maid had 2, and Rachel had 2. So that would have made it 12. So in truth and in fact, there were 11 sons is right. At the time, because Benjamin was not born as yet. What you were saying, Marilyn, Cyrus?
Then would it have been 12?
So, this morning I remembered when I said that to you, I said that to you all. I said it is quite possible that the reason I asked you all who's not mentioned there, and it was Dinah.
Yeah.
And right. And it is quite possible, and I gave you all 2 possible reasons that Dinah was not there, that it is quite possible that they were only targeting those who were the 12 tribes of Israel. And it was a patriarchal kind of world, and therefore they were only reflecting on the male genealogy and not the women. So they were prioritizing the male heirs and excluding female children. And I also mentioned the other reason is that Jacob could have had her hidden away to protect her from Esau. Because remember, Esau see her and like her now, he become his wife because they were marrying nieces and nephews and all sorts of stuff. So it is quite possible that Esau could have seen her and liked her and wanted to take her from him. And therefore he had her hidden away. But now thinking about it, and I forgot that Benjamin was the one who was not born. And there would have been 11 sons because Leah had already had 6. The 2 maids had 4 total between themselves. And Rachel had already had Joseph. And you will see that later on. As well. So the right translation might be sons is correct. Yes, Marilyn. Well, Marilyn Cyrus and then Marilyn Maza.
If it for the correct number if it's written children should have been 12 children, then
it should have been 12 children.
If
yes.
Dinah was there,
if Dinah was included, it should have been 12 children.
Okay.
Yes, and I mean, and it doesn't say, and I mean, it doesn't mean that she could not be included. She could have been included in them too, but just that she was not. Wait a minute, Bryce. Hold it a minute, Bryce. Mute yourself, Bryce, because after this Marilyn is the next Marilyn, and I'm getting the feedback. Thank you, buddy. I don't know why I'm getting feedback from Bryce, but I'm getting feedback all the time. But what I was saying to you, Marilyn, it isn't to say that she was not a part of the grouping, but it is just that she was not featured in the names, or she was not included in the number because of the fact that she was a female. Or, as I said, she may not have been there and Jacob had her hid away somewhere. But it is hard to decipher which one it would have been. Yes, Marilyn Maza.
In verse 11, when he's praying, he says children, the mothers and their children. Verse 11,
he doesn't
save
mention
me,
how
I
many.
prayed from the hand of my brother. For I'm afraid he will come and attack me, and also the mothers with their children.
Right. He didn't mention how many. So we don't know how many there were. He didn't mention that then. But here is it. It is mentioned now that that the maid servants and the wives and 11 sons are the ones who cross the Jabbok. We know he didn't. It claims that he may remain alone, but it doesn't mention anything about Dinah. And by then he would have had 12 children at that time, and not 11. You can unmute now, Bryce. Go ahead. And I'm sorry to do this to you, Bryce, but every time you unmute, I have an echo. Right now, I'm hearing an echo. So go ahead. And everybody.
I don't know why you
hearing an
do,
echo as
Father.
well.
I have no idea why you do, Anthony.
Go ahead. What you're going to say?
So Jacob had, that's a lot of family members that he had. I mean, he had 2 wives. I know that for Leah and Rachel. And then he had his maidservants, I guess. And
Yes.
they bore him children as well, too.
Yes.
That's a lot of kids. I mean, he had 13.
Well,
So he had
it's
like
a lot of kids. It's a lot of kids, but you also have to remember they make up the 12 tribes of Israel.
Right. I know that for a fact.
Yes. And you will see later on that his name is going to change from Jacob to Israel as well. So
Yes, because he wrestled with God. That's why he did
right,
that.
it's embedded in him. Correct.
But why did he have to wrestle with God? I mean, like, that's not a good decision to make. You should never wrestle with the Lord.
Well, no, that is not. No, we haven't gotten to there yet. But I'll tell you this, Bryce. You might say it is not a good thing to wrestle with God, but I think we wrestle with God once. I don't see wrestling with God as a bad thing. I think once you are in a close relationship with God, you are going to wrestle with him. As I said to the others this morning, in any relationship that you're in, in any relationship that you're in, whether it is a spouse, whether it's children, whether it's friends, whether it's work colleagues, the time will come that you two are going to butt heads, that you're going to disagree with each other. And that is, and therefore, in a relationship with God, sometimes things happen in our lives that we wonder, why did they happen? Why did you allow this to happen, God? And then you started wrestling with him because you have these answers that you want, these questions that you want answered. So I don't see wrestling with God. And you will see here that even Jacob's wrestling with God wasn't a bad thing. It was not a bad thing. And I will explain that shortly. But it wasn't a bad thing.
So you're saying it was not a bad thing?
I don't think it was. I don't think it
Because I
was.
always thought as a Christian and an Episcopal, I always thought it was a bad thing to wrestle with God.
Yeah, but it is.
Because nobody
It
should
depends.
wrestle with
It
God.
depends. All right, let me ask you a question. I'll ask you a question, Bryce. You have a relationship with God, or like with any person, and you will have disagreements, and you will banter against each other. But the fact remains is, what do you prefer? Somebody who has a relationship with God and wrestle with him to understand what's going on, or would you rather a person who don't have a relationship with God at all and who don't care anything, doesn't care anything about him?
I don't know. I don't know which one.
Well, I would go.
It's the person who doesn't believe in God.
Susan, I would think that this latter one is even worse than the former.
But I have a question.
Hold on a minute, Susan. You get what I'm saying, Bryce?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
You see, so I think it is the way how you wrestle with God that dictates the kind of wrestling. But I don't think on the broadest scale of things, wrestling with God is a bad thing, because I think wrestling with God serves to deepen your faith in him. That is my feeling.
Right.
When you wrestle with him, when you ask him, God doesn't. Take for example. I'm trying to think of a story like Thomas. When Thomas was not there when Jesus appeared, And when he came, the disciples told him, I've seen the Lord. And he says, well, until I see it for myself, I am not going to believe. And
Yeah, unless I see the nail in his hand.
exactly. So, I mean, one can see that as a kind of wrestling with God. And the other part of it is that wrestling with God does not mean fighting with him. Wrestling with God could be a spiritual wrestling, which it most likely
Right,
is.
spiritual.
It's a spiritual wrestling. You are struggling with your faith, and you're struggling with why God allowed these things to happen that is causing your faith to be in a shamble. And that is a good thing. That's a good thing. All right. Put yourself on mute. I'm going to go to Susan. Put yourself on mute. Go ahead, Susan.
Maybe he was wrestling with God to see if he made the right decision to go to Esau and ask for forgiveness, because he wasn't sure God was actually going to protect him. So maybe he was wrestling with that decision to see if God was really going to keep supporting him in that decision. So
and who knows? I mean,
we always wrestle with, did God really want us to do this? So we're always
say that again.
I said a lot of times we second guess what we do, and to see if that was really God's plan. So in our own mind, so maybe Jacob was wondering, if he goes to Esau, was God really going to be there for him, to protect him?
The thing about it is that you can also see this as, when you look at Jacob's life had always, it appeared, well, I would say it was always a struggle, but he's had his struggles throughout life. He had his struggles with Esau before he left. He had his struggles with Laban after he got there. He had his struggles with Laban after he left. And now he's about to have struggles with Esau as well. And the whole thing is, now that he's wrestling with God, it could be, and I'm just saying it could be a precursor to the fact that you will not have to wrestle with Esau.
Right.
Which he doesn't. It could be a precursor for God, for him to be wrestling with God as a precursor to meeting Esau.
Yeah,
and you will
seem to win,
go ahead.
and he left. So he did seem to win that battle, and then he went on to greet Esau, and Esau was welcoming. So
yes, and you see, the thing is about it. The thing about it is, with this whole wrestling with God, is that you have to realize that Jacob, when he left home in Canaan and went to Haran and came and on his way now back to Canaan, that this man, this is a different man. This man has been tested physically. He's been tested mentally. He's been tested spiritually, and so having this encounter, with this mysterious figure, and remember, he has grown strong physically, stronger spiritually by far, and also mentally. That he is. I mean, here is it. Just think about this equation. He is wrestling with this mysterious figure, which is believed to be God. Okay, bless you. Who is believed to be God, and if that was God, God could have easily, if he wanted to, get away from Jacob. But Jacob was persistent. He would not let go. In fact, he says, when the man says, let me go, for it is daybreak, Jacob replied, I will not let you go unless you bless me. And so it is obvious that he realizes whatever this wrestling is he's having, whether it's physical or spiritual, and I believe it's more spiritual than physical, whatever wrestling this is that he's having with this mysterious being, which is probably the spiritual wrestling with God spiritually, Jacob is extremely persistent. He refuses to release this person, and he hangs on to him with all his strength. And what you are going to see coming out here is that God will respect him. That's why I said earlier to Bryce that I don't think it was a bad thing that he wrestled with God. But you will see here that God respects Jacob's free will as he does in all of us. And although it might be even a misdirected will, Jacob will overcome because of his strength of his will. And that is what you see here coming out, that God rewards Jacob because of his persistence, that he continues in this wrestling match with him, and therefore he will not give up until God gives him a blessing. And
one more
Mhm.
question when you're done.
Mhm.
They said he changed his name to Israel. Was that
Mhm.
did that really happen in the Bible? Did he get
Yes.
referred to as Israel?
Yes, yes. And they go and actually the word Israel really means struggles or overcomes with God. So that is what the word Israel really means. And yes, and you have to remember he did have that name Israel, and really and truly his sons were the 12 tribes of Israel. And so it is like these sons came from him, and that is, so you get what I'm saying.
In 33, he's still referred to as Jacob, so that's why I was confused.
Yes. And I mean, throughout, he's still going to be referred to as Jacob. But remember, God changes your name as well. You remember Abram was changed to Abraham, and Sarai was changed to Sarah, and these kinds of things. So it is just here that Jacob's name now gets changed. So what you have here is that this, and that's why I said it's a spiritual transformation that is happening with him, because it shows that the mysterious figure is saying to Jacob that your old name shall be no more be said. Although he's still referred to it, he's not going to be seen now as the deceiver or the supplanter. He is going to be seen now as a victor and a prevailer, and that is what he's going to become. Jacob, that is, I mean. And so it is a spiritual transformation from the old Jacob to the new Jacob. The old Jacob is the deceiver, and the new Jacob is the victor, the prevailer, the one who persists and who holds on for dear life. And one of the things, and the thing is about it is, and you will see it as it goes, Jacob in verse 26, the man said, let me go, for it is daybreak. But Jacob replied, I will not let you go unless you bless me. And the man asked him, what is your name? And Jacob answered. Then the man said, your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with men and have overcome. And that's where, as you see, struggle and overcome with God is the name that Israel comes from. And Jacob said, please tell me your name. But he replied, why do you ask my name? Then he blessed him there. And you will find This happens again in Judges. I think it's the book of Judges when we get to Samson and Samson's father Manoah, where he is going to also encounter an angel of God. This is Samson's father is going to encounter an angel of God, and he is also going to ask the angel of God, "What is your name?" And the angel of God is not going to tell him. What is his name? The same way this angel or whoever it is does not tell Jacob either what his name is. And the only person I think who was able to get that, where asked God's name and God responded, "I am who I am," and that was Moses. He was able to do that. All right. Then in verse 30, you see, so Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, "It is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared." And there are two things that we can learn concerning Jacob's encounter with God. And one is that that when we hold on to God, when we cling to God, when we refuse to let go, we don't give up, even in the darkness of our own faith, when things are really bleak, and our faith journey is weak, but we still seek to cling on to God, that God blesses us and he helps us to overcome our obstacles. That the fact that we continue to hold on to him, that we do not let go, even in the darkest times of our faith journeys, you find that God can still bless us, and that God can still help us to overcome those obstacles, those challenges that we encounter in life. And that's one of the lessons that you learned from this encounter with Jacob. The second lesson that we encounter, and I alluded to it earlier, is that that if we resist submission to God's will, if we do not submit to God's will for our lives, God will allow our own free will to prevail. That whatever choices we make based on our free will will prevail, even if they're not the best choices for our faith or how we journey in our life with God. It does not mean that because he allows those to prevail that he has abandoned us. No, he hasn't abandoned us. He is right there waiting and hoping that we will let him take charge. But if we want to go on our own way, if we want to do our own thing, then God will let us do it. I mean, he's given us free will. One thing I said, and I said it to the group this morning, God is not a God who forces us to do things. He doesn't. He wants us to accept him freely. He wants us to be a part of him and who he is and what he's doing and what he wants for our lives. He wants us to embrace that on our own. He doesn't want to force it down our throats to do it. And so whenever we are ready, he's willing and ready and able to assist us on that journey. But he does not want to force us into that journey. And so that is one of the lessons here that you also learn from this encounter with God. In verse 31, the sun rose above him as he passed Peniel, and he was limping because of his hip. Therefore, to this day, the Israelites do not eat the tendon attached to the socket of the hip, because the socket of Jacob's hip was touched near the tendon. And as I alluded to the others this morning, I said, we don't eat human beings. Come on. You could have eaten I mean, it's not an animal. If it was an animal that the hip was out of joint or something, I could understand you not wanting to eat that. But this is a human being. We don't eat human beings. But that's how they don't. I mean, the Jews do not eat that part of the meat. Any questions before we go on to chapter 32 quickly? Sorry, chapter 33 quickly. All right. Now, when we get to chapter 33, we see now Jacob is going to meet Esau. And it is not what we were thinking would happen. Now let's do this. Verse 1, Jacob looked out and there was Esau coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 maidservants. He put the maidservants and their children in front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph in the rear. So you see, there's no mention of Benjamin at this point. He himself went on ahead and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. So here now, what is interesting about this is how he separates his wives and his servants. You see, he left the favorite wife to the last. And the favorite son, so that if any attacking goes on, the ones that he doesn't like as much, they're first. But the favorite wife, Rachel and Joseph, they're last. So he puts the maidservants first. All right, if there's any attack, they will get killed first. But he left Joseph and his mother to the last. So it just tells you that he wants to keep his favorite wife and his favorite child, because Joseph becomes the favorite child. He wants to keep them from harm's way as much as he possibly can. So you see that happening there. Then in verse 4, and the other thing before I get to verse 4, I want to say in verse 3, you see the word 7 again, as I always tell you about 7. 7 is a number of perfection or completeness. I think here in this case, it might also be a word of like submission, because you see here, Jacob himself went on ahead and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. So by bowing down to his brother 7 times tells us that there is a kind of like maybe a total submission, a total respect for his brother, and he's given him all the respect that is necessary and needed at this time. And usually is the greater of the 2 that is bowed to. Here you see Jacob, although he is going to be the greater, or he is the greater of the 2 of them, but he is making room for a reconciliation between him and his brother. So he's pulling all the stops out to make that happen. Then in verse 4, but Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. He threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they wept. Then Esau looked up and saw the women and children. Who are these with you? He asked. Jacob answered, they are the children God has graciously given your servant. Then the maidservants and their children approached and bowed down. Next, Leah and her children came and bowed down. Last of all came Joseph and Rachel, and they too bowed down. Note that Joseph's name coming now before Rachel. You realize that? All the rest is Leah and her children. You see Leah and her children. You see the maidservants and her children. But now it is Joseph and Rachel. And as I said to you last week, the person who is more important, like when last week we were hearing about Rachel and Leah, although Rachel is a younger daughter, she was taking precedence over Leah. Now you see Joseph is taking precedence over Rachel because Joseph is going to become the favorite son. And not to mention as well that Rachel is going to die soon anyhow, because she is going to die in childbirth with Benjamin. And so you will see this taking place. So they all come and they show homage to Esau. And one of the things that we also need to realize is that in verse 4 is that whereas Jacob was kind of scared and afraid that Esau would have attacked him and do him harm. All that now has gone to naught. He worried for nothing. He separated everything for nothing. And you know why it happened? Because God was protecting him and he did not recognize it. He still put things into his own arm. He put steps into his own hands, but God took care of him fully. And then in verse 8, Esau asks, "What do you mean by all these droves I met? To find favor in your eyes, my lord," he said. And so he's very honest. It's interesting that the deceiver has turned to be an honest man now. He's a different, complete man. He says, "So as to find favor." But Esau said, "I already have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself." "No, please," said Jacob, "if I have found favor in your eyes, accept this gift from me. For to see your face is like seeing the face of God now that you have received me favorably. Please accept the present that was brought to you, for God has been gracious to me, and I have all I need." And because Jacob insisted, Esau accepted it. So you will see here now that Jacob politely refused Esau's offer, but yet you find that he finally accepts it when his brother tells him he has what he needs and he doesn't need any more. And Jacob then says, "But this is a present, and it's glad that have it the way how you have embraced me. This is nothing compared to that. I want you to have this." So you find that God has intervened again, where he's honoring Jacob's humble submission to his brother, and it softens Esau's heart. Yes, Susan.
It never says why Esau forgave him. Did God intervene with Esau and say, forgive and forget? Or how did Esau turn revenge into?
The thing is, I don't recall that he does. We are going to be coming close. We're going to get into Esau's.
Never says why he openly accepts Jacob back, without a hint of anger. It just says, okay.
Well, and then God would have intervened there. And you have to understand that God would have intervened there. God would have intervened there. And sending the presents then obviously may have helped. But I think whether you sent the presents or not, the gifts, God would have intervened because God had already told him, "I will protect you. You are going back home."
And he didn't even, Esau just opened up his arms and said, "Come on in." Just kind of surprising that he did not hold a grudge. So anyway, I just thought that was.
Yes. But mind you will find as we go on, I'll come to you, Marilyn, but you will find as we go along, you are going to see in this chapter, and we soon finish it anyhow, but you will see that Jacob is still he's still some skepticism on his part. And I'll show you why I say that later. But there's still some skepticism on his part as it comes to Esau. Yeah, he embraced me and he kissed me, but I still looking at you, buddy, because I ain't so sure about you. But let me hear what Marilyn wanted to say first. Go ahead, Marilyn.
I just have a footnote. All Jacob's fears proved unfounded. God had been at work and had so blessed Esau that he no longer held a grudge against Jacob.
Correct. And that is exactly what it would have been. That God would have intervened in Esau's life as well. And I mean, you got to remember, you have to also remember that one of the reasons why Esau was so angry with Jacob for taking his blessing, because he felt that he would end up with nothing. I mean, he had no birthright. No, you took my blessing. And that means that you are going to get, and in those days, he was going to end up with hardly anything. The brother was getting the majority of it. And so the fact that Esau now has so much that he can refuse all this stuff tells you that, as Marilyn just mentioned in that footnote, that God had blessed Esau. And so his heart was softened and he did not have that same resentment toward Jacob. Now, where am I? Oh, so then you get to verse 12. Then Esau said, "Let us be on our way. I'll accompany you." No. And then he says, but Jacob said to him, my Lord knows that the children are tender and that I must care for the ewes and cows that are nursing their young. If they are driven hard, just one day, all the animals will die. So let my Lord go on ahead of his servant while I move along slowly at the pace of the droves before me and that of the children until I come to my Lord in Seir. And Esau said, then let me leave some of my men with you. But why do that? Jacob asked. Just let me find favor in the eyes of my Lord. So you see here, there is the skepticism that he does not still trust Esau. And this is where you will see it here, because listen, I mean, when you come into the last 5 verses or so, you see here in verse 16, so that day Esau started on his way back to Seir. Jacob, however, went to Succoth, where he built a place for himself and made shelters for his livestock, which is what the word Succoth means, shelters. And that is why the place is called Succoth. After Jacob came from Padan-aram, he arrived safely at the city of Shechem in Canaan and camped within sight of the city. For 100 pieces of silver he brought from the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, the plot of ground where he pitched his tent. There he set up an altar and called it El Elohi Israel. Now, tell me, what do you see happening here? Remember, I told you that Jacob has to pass through Esau's territory to get to Canaan. Tell me what happened here. Tell me if you could spot out what has happened here.
Well, is he setting up places along the way so he can still be in Esau's territory?
No.
I mean,
go ahead, Marilyn. I'm here.
He bribed his brother so he could get through.
He did what?
He bribed his brother so he could get through.
He get through how?
To pass through in the land.
And
go somewhere else.
Go to where he wants to go.
Go to Shechem in Canaan.
Right. But okay. So what happens is at the end of this chapter, where's Jacob?
In Canaan.
He's home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in Canaan. What did he say in verse 14?
Let my Lord go on ahead of his servant while I move along slowly until I come to my Lord in Seir.
He passed him. He did not go.
Right.
He did not go and see Esau. He will eventually, but he does not go. I think he goes eventually. I think he does, but he doesn't go. He passes him in Seir and goes to Shechem and goes home to eat. And so that's why I was saying to you that Jacob was still skeptical of Esau. He was still skeptical of him. He did not feel safe enough from Esau until he got over the Jordan River into Canaan. Once he got over that Jordan River into Canaan, he felt safe being home. But here is it. He told Esau, yeah, let me go at my own pace and I will come and meet you. Da, 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 da. He never did. He made sure he got home first. But I think in verse 34, in chapter 34, I think he does go back with a few people to visit his brother, but he keeps his children and his wives at home in Canaan. So it just tells you that it, that he did not trust. He still did not trust Esau. It is. I mean, it's a human thing. If somebody did us something bad or wanted to do us something bad, you're going to be still skeptical of them. That lingers in your mind even after 20 years. You wonder, are they really genuine or not? And this is where Jacob is at. He's wondering, is he genuine or not? And since he's not sure, let me do the safest thing and get my family home to Canaan, and then I could always go back and visit him. And I think, let me see. I'm trying to think where if he does go back to, I'm trying to find out where he goes back to his hold on a second. Hmm.
27 of 35. Jacob came home to his father Isaac in Mamre near Kirath
Wait, hold on a second. 27?
of chapter 35.
No, but that is in Canaan.
Oh, okay, you're right. It's just 10 beyond the middle and Eger.
Now Esau and Jacob buried him. I thought he might have. I thought that he might have returned to Seir, but he probably didn't. I don't think it mentions it. I think the presumption is that he probably did, but obviously it doesn't say that. Now, come to think about it, I don't think it mentions that he ever went back.
The other thing that might Bible has as a footnote is that Esau became the patriarch of the Arab nations.
Correct.
So it's the beginning of the Arab-Israeli issues.
Which is still happening today.
Yes.
Esau and Jacob are still fighting, man. They're still fighting. I don't see. But obviously, as one of the things you also realize from this is that Jacob did not trust, even when Esau said that he will leave some of his men to protect him more or less. Jacob does not trust Esau's protection, but he trusts God's protection. And so you see that is thing. But what we can see is, and what I think has happened is here, is that in verse 14, by telling him that he will go along slowly with his children until I come to my Lord in Seir, Jacob had no intention of going to Seir to see his brother. He just bypassed and couldn't wait to get to Canaan. And it also gives you that feeling that on Esau's part, he may have been genuine, whereas on Jacob he was superficial, and you can almost feel that kind of situation happening here as well. That if it is true that Jacob never went to see his brother back in Seir, then then verse 14 will kind of tell you that he had no intention of following Esau back to Seir. He just wanted to head home. He just wanted to get through Esau. Everything is good. Nobody gets killed or hurt or whatever. And he was out of there. And that's what he did. That's what he did. So it's an interesting, these stories, especially in Genesis, they're still so human today because these are things that happen even today. May not be out in a desert like this, but they still happen today. Any questions? None?
No, I like Marilyn's footnotes. They help. So.
Yes. All right. So I told the others this morning, I think we may have no more than 2 more classes left. I want us to get to chapter 36, which is going through three more chapters, 34, 35, and 36. And since 36 is all about genealogy and names that we can't spell or pronounce, which it will be a lovely thing to hear people read. There's no. Are you volunteering,
No.
Marilyn?
Yeah.
There is really no real substance to really talk about in chapter 36. Really, as I said, it's basically names of people. About Esau's descendants. So it's basically 34 and 35 that we have to sink our teeth in. And once we get through, 34 is how many verses? 34 is 31 verses, and 35 is 29 verses. Once we can sink our teeth through them, it depends on how we go this next week, but we may finish next week or we may finish the week after. But I think by, let's see here, by the 10th of June, we should be finished. And we will go then on summer break until the fall. Okay?
Good.
And that will put us then, when we come back, we will delve into Joseph. And that will be the next major person. We'll delve into the stories of Joseph, and we remember the stories of Joseph easier than the rest of the stories that went before that anyhow. So that should make it even a little bit more easier. So yeah, so we're winding down. We're coming down. We're coming down. All right.
Good.
Have a good
That's
evening,
good.
Thanks,
Thank you. Bye.
thanks,
Hope you
thanks,
feel better,
Marilyn and
Susan.
George for hosting.
Okay. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
Bryce.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Have a good one.